If you can find the hamburger hidden in this picture, then you can win a run through our prize-filled house, where what you find is what you keep on Finders Keepers. And now, here's the host of Finders Keepers, the man with a hidden talent, Wesley Ure.
Hello. Good luck, teams. Good luck. Thank you, and welcome to Finders Keepers, the only show where trashing a room can win you some dope.
This video is brought to you by Patreon. Patreon. Find it! With the surprise overnight success of Double Dare in 1986, the highest rated cable television program of its time, Nickelodeon had found itself in a very new position. It wasn't just making money, it wasn't just a success. It was a leading success, the one everyone was going to turn their eyes to. Other networks would look to them for trends to follow and ideas to steal. Advertisers would reevaluate how much they were willing to spend on an ad spot on the channel. Investors and parent companies would look to see how the channel and the brand could be expanded to make even more money. Success was bringing expectations, and the time when Nickelodeon would make small, incremental changes was over. In the final quarter of 1987, Nickelodeon introduced 3 shows that would signify major paths that the channel could take in the coming years. There was Sharon, Lois, and Bram's Elephant Show, symbolizing a re-emphasis on the preschool demographic that would result in the Nick Jr. programming block. There was Inspector Gadget, which broke most of the rules on how Nick would approach cartoons, resulting in a greater influx of animated programming, allowances for already well-known animated programs, and eventually the drive to create their own original animation. And then there was Finders Keepers, in which Nick went, what if we just made Double Dare again?
This week, don't just sit around the house. Tear it apart, tear up it, tear down it, go nuts! Cause our house is your house on Finders Keepers, weekdays on Nickelodeon.
I mean, that's just a natural conclusion, right? Double Dare is the most successful thing we've ever done. Let's see if we can recreate that success. If Nickelodeon's future is as a channel of children's game shows, then so be it. Premiering on November 2nd, 1987, Finders Keepers tasks 2 teams of 2 children with a hidden picture game, where host Wesley Ure will read a little riddle. The kids buzz in, and then circle something hidden in the picture that they think the riddle refers to.
The clue is, even Paul Bunyan was in awe. Red team, circle.
Saw.
His Christmas gift, a brand new what? Saw is correct for $25.
A correct answer not only scores you points, but gives you access to one of the rooms of the house, a massive 2-story, 8-room set. Initially, the room started pretty accurate to life. The bathroom, the parents' bedroom, the attic, but later on they would add more fantastical rooms. Tarzan's treehouse, Frankenstein's laboratory, or just an indoor beach for some reason. After 4 hidden picture questions, each team got to search the rooms they won. Ure would give them a hint as to what they're looking for, and each pair of kids would have 30 seconds to find it, encouraged to tear the room apart, break props, make a mess of the place.
Pee-wee's the kind of guy with this kind of tie. Wait, would you relax? Your cheerleaders are all alike. Here we go. You ready to go? Find it! Pee-wee's the guy with this kind of tie. Whoa, look at the balloon! Is it the bow tie? No, you got it! It was the bow tie! Woo!
If they find the hidden item in time, the team gets points. If not, the opposing team gets points. Then the cycle of hidden images would begin anew, followed by a second batch of room searches, with one of the rooms guaranteeing the players a chance for a bonus prize, usually a trip to space camp.
Yeah.
Excited? Here we go, 30 seconds. It's the instant prize room! You've chosen it!
Today's instant prize worth this super space adventure. You'll go through astronaut training and enjoy a simulated space shuttle flight at U.S. Space Camp. And it's only a space camp in Huntsville, Alabama. And you'll get there on Eastern Airlines, the official airline of the U.S. Space Camp. Flies more people to Huntsville, Alabama. Eastern, more flights to more fun vacations. We've got your ticket. It'll be your ticket if you find today's hidden object in the living room.
All right, Katie and Matt.
Nickelodeon game shows were the best advertising Space Camp ever got. After all of this, the team with the highest score would go to the room-to-room romp, where they would have 90 seconds to search 6 rooms in a certain order. Each room they successfully solved earned them a prize of incremental value.
And let's take a look at some more of today's great prizes here on Finders Keepers. This Unitron sleek zoom spotting scope with fully coated lenses will bring objects 12 to 40 times closer. Compact and portable, it goes anywhere and everywhere. From Casio, the TV400, a 2-inch handheld pocket color TV with built-in speaker. Casio lets you take your entertainment with you wherever you go from Casio. Also from Casio, this MT205 keyboard with 12 instrument sounds and 12 rhythms. Tap the Casio SS1 sound sticks and you've got 4 different drum sounds from Casio. And it's time to go searching, and it's back to the house.
And that's how one plays Finders Keepers. A pretty simple game with larger-than-life production values. The main draw is, of course, the giant house set with its many rooms and gimmicks, which allowed kids to tap into what I'm sure a bunch of adults in a boardroom thought was a desire to make a mess of a room. The idea behind Finders Keepers is to let kids run wild with their fantasies. The show captures the energy and imagination of kids while challenging them at the same time. But outside of this larger make-a-mess gimmick, Finders Keepers replicates everything it possibly can from its predecessor, Double Dare. While the games are different, the structure is the same. 2 teams of 2, 2 rounds of a mix of questions and physical challenges, each stage worth an incremental larger amount of points, the winning team going on a multi-stage final round for prizes. Both shows even had a major shoe brand as sponsors, in this case Converse. The creative staff of the 2 shows are nearly identical. 3 of Double Dare's 4 credited creators, Jeffrey Darby, Michael Klinghoffer, and Dee LeDuc, are also credited creators here, along with newcomers Bonnie Grossberg and Neil Krupnik. Double Dare's head writer, Alan Silberberg, also wrote for this show. Ed Kaloff returned to do the music, and Double Dare's set designer Brian Taylor got a promotion to art director for Finders Keepers. The most visible holdover was, of course, Harvey as the announcer.
Who's going to take the Kmart?
Oh,
You got hit? All right. Oh, man, that means I'm going out to the gas station again on the corner. One of you guys want to trade? No. All right.
Harvey is fantastic, a great talent. If Harvey were in Chicago, I'd give serious thought to doing the show there. But of course it wasn't filmed in Chicago, but in the same studio space as Double Dare, at the Whyy TV building in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Good old Channel 12. The main advantage of using that space over New York City was how much easier it was to engage with local schools for auditioning potential contestants. It's much easier to bus children here, even from northern Jersey, than it is to bring kids into Manhattan from the nearby suburbs. School districts that have cable TV tend to be more interested, because they're familiar with Double Dare, and we're more interested in getting them involved, frankly, because it raises the student body's awareness of the Nickelodeon channel. It was also, technically, a little teensy-weensy bit cheaper to film in Philadelphia. Leasing WHYY's large IMAX studio is much cheaper than filming in New York, but after moving the huge new set in from a New York scenic shop and housing a crew of 70 people for 6 weeks, production only really saved $20,000 off a $1 million budget. The production of both Finders Keepers and Double Dare were also becoming a concern for WHYY TV itself. It was, a television studio making its own stuff for local network television, and these shows were eating into the studio space and staff. But then again, they also kinda needed Nickelodeon's money to stay in operation. We're responding to pressures from the federal government and everyone else to be as ingenious as possible in finding new ways of staying alive. Many public stations, including WHYY, have found they can realize income from leasing their facilities. The downside of the arrangement is that we're not in the facility leasing business. The line has to be drawn. If we don't monitor the situation carefully, it could interfere with our own operations. We don't want to lease out more than we're using ourselves. Of course, the one major difference between Double Dare and Finders Keepers was the host. I'm sure Nickelodeon would have brought in Mark Summers if they thought it feasible, but someone new had to be selected, and that someone new was Wesley Yore. For the general public, Ure was best known from the world of soap operas, playing Michael Horton on Days of Our Lives, though the older kids in the audience might remember him as the older brother Will on Sid and Marty Krofft's 70s sci-fi dinosaur adventure, Land of the Lost. And as a children's game show host, Ure is okay. He definitely brings enthusiasm to the table, but he stumbles over himself a lot, and he isn't quite as good as improv as Mark Summers, and he can struggle sometimes to get good banter going with the kids.
All right, let's reveal today's first hidden picture. This is called Frosty... Oh, wait, we're going to call this one? Oh, It's Not So Real, Inspector Hound. All right. Here we are in Mom and Dad's room. My friend the alligator's here in the bed. You know, I feel like Don Johnson can have an alligator pet. I can have one too. It's a lovely one. All right, it's Elvis, or Elwes, I think we should call it for this show, huh?
Much like Double Dare's first season, Finders Keepers had a number of small hiccups and technical issues, some of which could have been fixed in post, but they just didn't. Notice here how they mess up the audio levels on the first half of what Harvey is saying.
And Blue Team, you got $50, which means you're going to be searching 2 rooms. Come on, let's go in the house. Come on, Blue Team. Woo! This goes for
The clutter closet, the kids' room, where no mother has boldly cleaned before.
I guess they were mixing final audio on the spot? I'm not sure why they couldn't have redubbed it after. I suppose just a hectic schedule, filming 4 or 5 episodes a day for 6 weeks to make its 65 episode order. But you know, those flaws can be charming in a certain context. A bigger problem is that, well, Finders Keepers was a very badly designed game. First off, while it had a similar format to Double Dare tested a larger skill set for its child contestants, which actually made the games more even. The blue team might not be good at the history questions, but they're great at the pop culture questions. The red team might do poorly at the physical challenges that require hand-eye coordination, but they get the fill-the-bucket challenges done in record time. For Finders Keepers, you're only testing 2 skills: your ability to find hidden images in the picture, and your ability to search a room. That means there's greater odds of one team vastly outpacing the other in skill and completely dominating the game. On the flip side, if neither team are good at those 2 things, well, you're in trouble. During the hidden image part of the round, if neither team finds the hidden image, nobody gets to search that assigned room. And think how bad that is for pacing. If only 2 hidden images are found, then only 2 rooms are searched, and suddenly your episode is running 2 minutes short. But an even bigger problem is scoring. For each segment of game, scores increase by an increment of 25 points. Here's how it breaks down: 25 points, 50 points, 75 points, 100 points. A grand total of 1,000 points distributed each game. Which means that once a team passes the 500 point mark, they've won, even if there's still a lot more game to play. You can get past 500 as early as the 7th Hidden Picture Challenge. You can have that win unlocked before you even do the second round of room searches. But there's a flip side to that too, because during the room searches, if you fail, the points go to the opposing team. And the room searches are always more valuable than the preceding hidden image rounds. Do you see the problem? Theoretically, one team could do nothing, not find a single hidden image, not gain access to a single room search in the house, and they could still win if the opposing team fails enough room searches. One of the teams could just be 2 cardboard cutouts, and they would have more than a 0% chance of winning. That is just horrible game design. Despite all the attempts to live up to its older brother, Finders Keepers had less variety and more flaws than Double Dare, which is not to say that it wasn't entertaining, especially with 2 evenly matched teams. And of course it had its fans, some of whom were not afraid to share their love no matter what show they happened to be on.
This is Andrea, and I did a personal appearance in New Hampshire, and you came on stage with me, didn't you? And now you came to Philadelphia to see us, huh?
Yeah.
And what's your favorite show on TV?
Finders Keepers.
Finders Keepers. You really like that show? Yeah? And now I know how Art Linkletter felt. And what's the name of this show?
Double Dare.
And do you like this show?
Yes.
But you like Finders Keepers better, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, Andrea, I think you have to go to your mommy right about now. Okay, we're back here with Andrea, and she's 4 years old. And tell the folks at home, in case they just tuned in, what your favorite TV show is.
Finders Keepers.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you. A round of applause for Andrea. Right on down there. Thank you, Andrea, one more time. And Andrea, I'm going to let you have the T-shirt of your choice, okay? I have 2 T-shirts. I have one that says Finders Keepers on it, and then I have one here that says Double Dare on it. Now, which one would you rather have, the Finders Keepers or the Double Dare?
Finders Keepers.
Finders Keepers. All right, yeah. There you go. Take the... I'll tell you what, maybe you can wear this one around, and what's the name of the show that you're on now?
Double Dare.
Thank you so much. There you go. Give Andrea a round of applause. Thank you. You get 2 T-shirts, a Finders Keepers, and a Double Dare.
Unfortunately for me and what I do, Finders Keepers is a show where important numbers don't seem to be available anywhere. How many episodes were there? I'm not entirely sure. Wikipedia suggests 130 episodes of the Nickelodeon original, and I'll get to why that distinction exists in a bit, but it's very poorly sourced. I could only independently confirm an original 65-episode season order. As for ratings, Wesley Ure once stated in an interview that it did better numbers than Double Dare, but I feel like Finders Keepers is now actually the most watched show in cable television, would have come up in the trade papers, and the rest of the show's history doesn't shake out that way. Double Dare parallels continued as the series made its premiere and found its audience, including merchandise. Double Dare got a home game, so naturally Finders Keepers got a home game. Which, considering the concept, might not have been the wisest idea.
Our show was hated by a lot of parents. There was actually a home game. Now remember, Finders Keepers is a show about trashing a house. So we'd hide an object, the kids could destroy everything because everything was breakable, nothing would harm a kid. Even the computers were like plastic and you could punch through them. There was nothing that would hurt a kid. So kids would go home, hide an object, and play Finders Keepers in their houses, but they'd be trashing their real house. I gotta tell you, I had a lot of complaints from parents.
But even more than that, Finders Keepers would follow Double Dare into syndication, with a new version being filmed and distributed to Fox affiliates by Viacom. Filmed at the Hollywood Center Studios and premiering on network television on September 12, 1988, this new version of Finders Keepers would see some major changes to the game, the set, and the host.
For fast relief from dull TV, try new Finders Keepers.
I feel better already.
Finders Keepers, it's fast, furious, and completely unbreakable.
It takes a licking and keeps on ticking.
It's shockproof, water-resistant, and built to last a whole half hour.
A good time. Guaranteed.
Shouldn't you try new Finders Keepers?
Except no imitations.
Finders Keepers, look for it.
Weekday afternoons at 5 on Fox for the Tri-Cities WETO.
That's Larry Toffler, minor actor and former Universal Studios tour guide. His presentation is less sloppy than Wesley Ure's, but loses a little bit of the charm in the process. He's kind of stiff.
Here we are in our living room. You can tickle around. There's a lot of stuff that you can trash here for $50. And here's your clue. Finders Keepers headline. Bigfoot in sugar shock after sucking on this. Find it.
But why change hosts at all? It certainly wasn't Wesley Ure's idea. He was more than happy to continue in his role. And the decision to change hosts seemed to come from Fox, not Nickelodeon. Well, an important piece of context to consider is that Wesley Ure is gay. And being gay in show business isn't easy, and it was a nightmare in the 80s. While he wouldn't come out publicly until 2009, his sexuality wasn't a secret in the industry, and it did result in his firing from Days of Our Lives, and no doubt impacted what programs he worked on. Now, was that also why Finders Keepers dropped him as host when it went to syndication? I cannot definitively say that, but Ure certainly implied it in an interview he did shortly after coming out. It was a horrible time in Hollywood being gay. It was horrible. I was on the cover of Tiger Beat and All Those a Lot, and they do those, win a date with Wesley and who's Wesley dating? It was so disingenuous. I had a full life. I've had a lot of friends and some pretty high-profile partners, and it was an odd thing. We heard Finders Keepers was being sold to Fox. Everybody else was celebrating, and I went, oh no, I'm out of a job. Sure enough, I waited, I kept calling. Am I hosting the show? They wouldn't answer the question. And then I got the call they went with somebody younger. I knew Fox and NBC were run by gay men at the time, but what was odd about the industry at the time, it was amazing how the gay men were perpetuating the damage. It's not hard to imagine Fox executives quietly thinking to themselves, a gay man on a children's show? If that got out, it'd be a scandal. It's deeply, deeply unfortunate. But Finders Keepers moved forward, and so must we. There were a few secondary changes that actually improved the watching experience by a bit. For example, during the room searches, a little graphic would pop up and show you where the hidden item is, so you know just how warm or cold the players are. That's fun. But the biggest change came in the hidden picture round. Instead of circling parts of a picture, kids were tasked with rushing over, picking an item traced on some kind of cling film, and matching it to a hidden item on a giant physical painting.
Use this if you don't want to be plain stupid in plain geometry. Find it, red team. Got it, red team. Yes, there you go. Well done. Excellently done.
You could definitely argue that this version of the hidden picture game is more visually interesting, but it does come with its own set of problems. Namely, children are usually pretty short, and these pictures are huge, stretching almost 3 feet over Toffler's head. So if the hidden item you're after is near the top of the picture, you better hope you have hops.
My old man is really wacko. He stuffs this up and smokes tobacco. Blue team, go find it. Good jump, good job. You don't have to keep jumping, you got it.
But for all those changes, the core flawed game design remained the same. Things just never really clicked into place for Finders Keepers, and I think the people at Nickelodeon realized this pretty early. While it's never been badmouthed by Jerry Layborn like she did with Turkey Television, it was the first Nickelodeon show to be outright disliked by Peggy Sharon, founder of Action for Children's Television, and someone Layborn had been brushing elbows with a lot since taking over leadership in 1984. Sharon, who was pro-Double Dare, mind you, was quite worried about the proliferation of children's game shows as a new form of cheap cash grab entertainment. What's been missing from children's TV is choice and diversity. To have one wonderful game show adds to that choice. But having spin-off after spin-off of game shows for kids is the same kind of thinking that resulted in 70 toy-based programs in the 80s. It's not diversity. I'm not delighted in a show like Finders Keepers, where kids are trashing houses to win their own CD player. And you know what? I agree. The Double Dare knockoffs were already filtering in, and Finders Keepers was kind of a Nick-sanctioned Double Dare knockoff. I don't know if Sharon's opinions had any sway on Layborn, but what I do know is that, when the syndication version was announced, it was also announced that Nickelodeon would cease airing the show on the cable channel. From September 12, 1988 to March 13, 1989, Finders Keepers was nowhere to be found on Nickelodeon, a sort of mini cancellation. And when it did come back, it was just reruns with the syndicated version mixed in.
If these were your clothes, or if this were your room, boy, would you be in trouble. But not on Finders Keepers.
Let's take a look at it.
This is Nick territory, so as long as you're a kid, you can do anything you want.
Find it.
Like shred Sherlock study, dig up the beach, even sweat it out in the swamp.
There's a lot of places you can look.
At Finders Keepers, you get it so gunky, even kid stars can't stay away. So if you want to mess around, check out Finders Keepers, weekdays at 6, 5 Central, on the only network for you, Nickelodeon.
Production of Finders Keepers had well ended. Nickelodeon was done with it. It just became a placeholder until finally leaving the channel for good on August 25th, 1990. A weird anticlimax for this project. Nickelodeon would become known for quite a few children's game shows, but Finders Keepers seemed to have stalled the engine on that for just a little bit. There was a new game show planned for 1988, something called Zaptrap, A game show with an Indiana Jones / old movie serial vibe where you crossed moats and explored an ancient temple with guardians ready to grab you. The show was formally announced to go into production for a 1988 release, but then it never happened. Or, at least, it wouldn't happen for another 5 years. Now, it's very possible I'm making connections that aren't there. Maybe Zaptrap got put on hold for completely unrelated reasons. But something was going on behind the scenes. Something motivated the higher-ups to sweep Finders Keepers under the rug like that. But whatever that something is, I'm afraid to say it's not public record. I really try my best with these videos, but until Nickelodeon recognizes I'm legit and gives me access to their secret vaults, we may never know. They tried to make lightning strike twice by making a show as similar to Double Dare as possible, and it didn't work. The show has its charms, but it's clearly a step down from its predecessor. And that's where the Finders Keepers story ends. Except no, it's not. Finders Keepers came back in a big way, finding massive success in the 90s that had eluded it in the 80s, and lasted another half a dozen seasons. Just, not here. Not on Nickelodeon. Not in the United States. Finders Keepers would find new life in Britain.
Okay, time now for Finders Keepers, and which way Blue Arrow is? I think Finders Keepers is that way.
Finders Keepers!
And here is the owner of the Finders Keepers house, Neil Buchanan.
Oh, what a racket. Hello there and welcome to Finders Keepers. This is, of course, the house where you can do all those things that you can't actually do at home. And no one is going to complain.
Again, this is Finders Keepers following in Double Dare's footsteps. Nickelodeon licensed international versions of Double Dare, so of course they did the same thing with Finders Keepers. The British version of Finders Keepers premiered on ITV on April 12, 1991, and would run for 6 whole series up until August 6, 1996. This version keeps the mess up a room to find an item element of the show, while completely replacing the hidden image part with, this.
8 numbers as usual. Behind them are some answers. I've got 6 questions here. The idea is our 2 teams have to find, no peeping, where the correct answers are actually hidden. Who was once called the most boring person in the world? Pick a number.
3.
You think it's number 3? The Queen? No.
This is so much worse than the hidden image games. The players aren't using any skills. They're just slowly revealing answers on a board and accidentally making little Mad Libs while they do. So who gets access to rooms feels completely randomized. Then you have the host, Neil Buchanan, who is just way too try-hard, full of that over-the-top 90s kids show enthusiasm that never feels real.
Oh, plenty of that. Look at that, eh? Swivel hips, they used to call me at school. Get out of here. Go away. Woo! Right then.
But then again, what do I know? Because this version of Finders Keepers did really, really well. It even did better than the British version of Double Dare. The only time you can say that. There was also a revival series in 2006. Meanwhile, over in the States, you might get lucky to catch a rerun at 3 in the morning on Nick Gas. I'm glad Finders Keepers found some belated success. I like it when things succeed. It was an incredibly flawed game show, but even I'll admit that tearing up Flash Gordon's bathroom to find a rubber ducky and win a telescope on television sounds like a lot of fun. There's a chance we'll come back to Finders Keepers someday. I feel like I'm missing a major piece of the puzzle, more so than most of the shows we've covered. But until I can get that epic 12-hour interview with Jerry Layborn, we're gonna have to leave it here. Finders Keepers, you weren't as good as Double Dare. Rest in peace.
Nick, 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 Nickelodeon. Nick, 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 Nickelodeon.
Next time, we reach 1988 with a dive into the creation of Nick Jr. and a look at one of the weirdest cartoons Nickelodeon ever imported. Research shout-out goes to the YouTube channel BLS Productions and its main show, Game Show Junkie. They managed to snag an interview with Wesley Ure, which is more than I accomplished this time around. They have a number of game show profiles and interviews, totally worth a peruse. Thank you all for watching. If you like to support Knacks and the rest of the Pop Arena, consider contributing to my Patreon. Every dollar goes to production values, research materials, and now out-of-season candy canes. You can also support the channel by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, hitting that bell icon for notifications, leaving a comment, sending a one-time donation through PayPal or Coffee, following me on Twitter, or sharing Knacks with all your friends. Thank you all for watching, and Black Lives Matter.